Howdy everybody, Brian S. Pratt here, Dungeon Master turned author. That's right, I was a Dungeon Master way back in the day. High school, 1980s. Yeah, I just dated myself, didn't I? Anyway, when Dungeons & Dragons first started out, my brother got into it and he got me into it. And I loved being the Dungeon Master. I think I enjoyed designing the dungeons far more than I enjoyed running people through the dungeons. But we had some really good times back then. But before I get into that, I'm trying something new. If you see a subscribe button on the screen, could you click that? It'll subscribe to my channel. It would really help me out. And if it doesn't work out, comment. Let me know. Okay. Also like the video, comment, share, all that kind of good stuff. It would really help me out, and I much appreciate those who have subscribed and who follow me. Anyway, back to this whole Dungeon Master thing. So, my favorite dungeon I did, we loosely held to the to D&D's rules. We wanted to have a fun and do crazy things than adhere strictly to the rules. Like if I roll a dice and it says they died, well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. If they pissed me off, they died. If they didn't, it's behind my God wall, so it is what it is. But the funnest guy who ever ran one of my dungeons, like I said, I had no limitations. They could run anybody they wanted to, and I didn't care. But they had to be true to who they ran. This guy ran Inspector Gadget. People born later on probably have no idea who that is. But Inspector Gadget, now that was a fun run. And whenever he did anything Inspector Gadgety, he had to say, go Gadget. And if he didn't, it didn't work out for him. That was fun. And my best character when I ran, when someone else ran the dungeons, because I wasn't always the dungeon master, but I was mostly the dungeon master because I could keep it in my head, and everyone else just liked the easy, the easy part of just coming there with their character sheets. My best was a storm giant fighter with a laser rifle. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of purists are going, oh, these guys, I hate these guys. Well, we didn't care so much about the rules. We used them as, like I said, a rough guideline. We were more interested in having fun, and it was fun. Now, for me, designing the dungeons translated really well into writing books, and that's what I do. I do epic fantasy. All of my stories have role-playing themes. The most like Dungeons & Dragons would probably have to be my Broken Key Trilogy. That one, has a lot of Dungeons & Dragon flavor to it, so to speak. But, back in the day, we didn't have computers. I mean, we had gaming systems, but we didn't really have computers. That didn't come until the 90s. So, you go down to the stationery shop, you buy a big thick pad of graph paper, sometimes a big graph paper, sometimes a smaller graph paper. And then you would sit down and you would, with your number 2 pencil, draw out and plan these things out. And I had levels and levels. I had traps. I designed traps, and it was really fun. So now when I'm writing my books, a lot of it comes fairly easy for me because I've already had that experience when I was back in high school. Yeah, I was that kid who had the backpack all the time, and it was stuffed to the brim, but it wasn't school books. It was the Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide, Player's Handbook, the Ardo and Grimoire. Yes, I had those. That's where my Storm Giant came from. And there was one other thing. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Fiend Folio, of course, and a whole lot of dice. I love those dice. I love taking crayons and coloring in the holes, and yeah. Anyway, so when I write my books, you're going to see elements of that experience in them, like secret doors. The different ways people have for hiding secret doors, and so forth. I love making maps. I've got maps of everything, and I might be a little bit too detailed in writing. Like there's this one, like in the Broken Key Trilogy, Shepherd's Quest. When they first find the area, it's kind of like a maze down there, and I'm like going, okay, they take a right, and then the next one they take a left, right, left, and it gets kind of confusing. But I did that specifically so the characters are confused and getting turned around, and the reader is too. I want the reader to experience what the characters are experiencing, and that's what I do. And my magic system, okay, I always had a problem with healing potions. Don't get me wrong, I love healing potions. I play Skyrim all the time, and I love healing potions. But they don't make sense to me. How does that potion know exactly how all the sinews go, exactly how all the bones are supposed to be put together, the flesh is worked out? So like in Shepherd's Quest, someone gets injured and they have to use a healing potion, right? But in my world, you drink it, you pour it on the wound, then you have to work your hand. Now see, as it's healing, you're working the muscles, you're working the sinews, you're getting the blood vessels aligned, and as you're moving the hand, the potion is sensing the where everything needs to be connected to, but for the most part, I don't understand healing potions. They work, they're magic and everything, but how do they know? For me, it's always, how do they know? It has to be logical, at least in the world it's created. And I guess magic potions are logical in the world of Dungeons & Dragons because, well, they work, right? But it still bothers me. How does it know? Now, when I'm writing a book, it has to be logical. It has to make sense. It has to be believable. And that's why a lot of people really enjoy my books, because it doesn't go out there. It's not weird. It's logical. I've got 19 books out, fantasy books, and they're all got role-playing themes to them. We've got the Morcyth Saga, where this dungeon master from Earth goes to another world and does magic. He uses his knowledge from all these from all the games he's created, all the books he's read, to become a better magic user, mage in that world. And then I've got the Adventurers Guild, where these two young men want to join the Adventurers Guild, but there's certain restrictions on joining it, and they don't meet any of those restrictions. So the only way that they can go into or get into the Adventurers Guild is by joining an existing Adventurers Guild party, go on an adventure, and come back successfully, and then they would be put up for membership. But the only way they can get into an Adventurers Guild party is by signing on as Springers. Now, they're not aware what Springers is. They just figure spring chicken. Oh yeah, Springers. They must just want some new people. No, that's not what that means. That means Springers spring the trap, right? So in Adventurers Guild, I get to really talk about traps because they have to work on trap chest, other traps, and get to really work on that, right? And then I've got my dungeon crawler books. I like books that get right into the action. So my dungeon crawler books, I got two. One's underground, one's portals. Underground, these four people wake up in the middle of an underground area. They're strangers to each other. they have to work together to get out. And of course, it has Dungeon and Dragon feel to it. Portals, same thing, except there's only one person. And that one there is really different because the portals are mirrors that when you touch it, you go somewhere. And every room has multiple mirrors, and so you got to figure out the proper path to get to where you want to go. And so, yeah, being a dungeon master has really helped flavor my books. So role players, I find, have really enjoyed my books. They find them familiar and find them worlds that they themselves would like to find themselves in. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Give a little background to Brian S. Pratt, author here. One-time dungeon master, now an author, bringing role-playing to life. You all take care. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, ask questions. And if you ask a question that takes more time or more space than a YouTube reply, I will make another video about it. You all take care.